I'm Doth Savick, and this is the Guru YME version 3. Or maybe it's the version 2. It's a little bit hard to tell. This bag was purchased by my good friend Brandon. He just got it in recently and straight away gave it to me to use for a bit and review. So shout out to Brandon. Thanks a lot for letting me get my hands on this bag. I have been playing with it for a bit, and it's got some really interesting features on here. It cost $223 to get shipped to Utah. The total cost of the bag is listed at 118 euros plus 79 to ship, so 197 euros. This bag is also being marketed with the Discmania logo on it, Discmania Expedition bag. You can see if you look on the innovastore.net that they have a pre-order there listed for 179 euros, and it looks like they're planning on releasing them for sale on August 26th, 2020. The history on this bag looks like they are releasing it, and each time they release it, they give it a different designation. So the version 1 was in August of 2016, version 2 was in March of 2018, and then this third version is June of 2020. This was marketed as a version 3 bag. That's what it says on the receipt. However, the tag that they sent it with clearly says version 2 right on the bottom. So it makes me think that at least from the version 2 to 3, maybe they made no design changes on the bag at all, and they had older tags, and so they're using tags with the version 2 designation on it and sticking it on the version 3 bags. I'm not sure about that part. There's not a whole lot of information out there about these Guru bags. There is a YouTube video that the Guru guys put out, and the only thing that caught my eye from that bag to this one was Rainfly. Brandon actually sent me that video and asked me to take a look at it. In that video, they pull a zipper that's located somewhere just behind this little putter pouch cover. They pull a zipper there and yank out a Rainfly. That doesn't exist on this bag, and this one did not ship with the Rainfly. So for whatever reason, they decided they didn't want to send Rainflies out anymore, and also removed that pocket. This is a little bit on the heavier end of the spectrum for bags. It weighs in at 2.25 kilos. That puts it just a little bit lighter than the Innova Superhero Pack. Also Voodoo ST3 and the Gorilla Boy Simeon. Those bags are all heavier than this one. And then this is just above, weight-wise, this is just a bit heavier than the Prodigy BP1 version 3. Also heavier than the Grip AX4, Pound Octohaul, Octothorpe, a bunch of others. So it's kind of in that medium weight range. It's not too bad for the carrying capacity that it has. A lot of the weight is added to this bag because of panels that they've inserted. We've got a lot of plastic panels added at different spots inside this bag. And it's got a unique structure to it. We'll dig right in. One of the things that stands out is the water bottle holders on here. They are connected at a single point on the corner, which means they can swing back and forth. When you're carrying it, they do tend to sit forward. I feel those. I feel those on my back, and they're right kind of in that elbow territory. So. Potentially some chafing, depending on just exactly how that fits, and they do swing back and forth. The benefit of having them mounted like that is that they're off of the side of the bag, so that then there's more room to add a pocket there. They do fit Nalgene, no problem. The height on them is good. You're not going to have stuff falling out. They've done the tiered height on that, so one side of the pocket's a little higher than the other, and that makes it a little bit easier to, fish a corner of a beverage in there. They are thick, they're insulated just a bit, and they have drain holes on the bottom. You can see a little grommet in there on both of those. Perhaps the most unique thing about this bag that's really eye-catching is the fact that you can access the main disc storage from the back. And when you open that flap, you know, if you're gonna leave that open, you need to tuck that flap in. There's two different ways you can do that. You can either lay it down all the way under the discs if you want to pull discs out, or you can see we're starting to get a little crease in there from just kind of rolling it up and tucking it down, and that works fine as well. This is the best way to access the discs in this bag. It's not as convenient to do it from the front. However, you do have still some convenience issues just with the straps hanging down in front of your discs. So, you know, you might find that you're constantly kind of pulling a strap to the side and trying to drape it on top of the water bottle holder just to get it out of your way a little bit so you can reach in and access those discs. The discs do pull in and out really nicely. That's a Comet, so it's an oversized mid there, and you can see there's plenty of room in that opening to get the discs out. The problem that I have with accessing the discs from the front is that this opening is super funky. There is Velcro on that piece, so once you've unzipped that, you can push it up and it'll stick. Now, the way that this bag is cut leaves us with the overlap here. So if you have it packed, which I have it relatively full here, then you're going to have discs disappearing on both sides if you're trying to access them from the normal side of the bag. It is cut better on the back, so you don't quite have that issue. So it can be tough, harder than normal to reach in and grab those discs, getting them both in and out. That's somewhat similar to the sort of complaint that I've got about the Carlton and not being able to see well and not being able to pull discs in and out very easily. And it's similar here in that it's not particularly easy to see on those edges, and you really start fighting. Now, you probably noticed that this is also a crooked opening, and that one really confuses me. The zipper pulls all the way around, and it'll go everywhere except for just that little piece there is where the zipper stop is. And I have no idea why they made that stop so low. That really cuts off our height there to be able to pull discs in and out. You can see it pushing on the bottom hard. I think that they realized that was an issue, so to partly make up for it, they made the zipper, they cut that opening even lower. However, that then creates another issue. Just in the limited time that I've used this bag, in particular, if you don't have it as full as I do right now, when you go to pick this bag up, those discs are ready to roll straight out the front over that low zipper. And I yard sailed all of my discs. I've heard of, people doing that with like the Gorilla Boy, for example, and some of the discs slide out of there. I've seen it happen to somebody with the Fossizani Pro that, they just picked their bag up kind of aggressively and discs went flying. I wasn't going crazy with this. I picked it up instead of, by a handle, I picked it up by the strap, and that was enough to lean the bag far enough forward that my discs just went everywhere. Now, this really wasn't needed. They could have left this bottom edge higher, and then they could have moved that zipper stop up. When we open this panel the rest of the way, you can see that they have a upper storage area as well. And here's our divider. Why doesn't this zipper stop match the height of that divider? There's no reason to have it stop down here. It just gets in the way. Just oversight like that. I don't know. That zipper stop really, the whole side of the bag here would be fixed if that zipper stop was moved up, and then this low cut was moved a little bit higher. Anyways, You can see they've got a thick Velcro all the way across there, so you can go like this possibly and have access up into that top storage. You can also leave the bottom zipped closed if you're accessing your discs through the other side of the bag, and still have access to that top piece, no problem. You can leave the flap sit out like this if you wanted, and use that area to store even more discs, or perhaps you've pulled some out here and you know you're going to use them for a few holes in a row, so then you stick them up in here instead. That works pretty good. The top compartment here has the putter pocket hanging down right inside the middle of it. And you've got 2 putters that can fit comfortably inside there. 3 is not an issue either. You can see I've got extra room. I've got a whale sack in there. One thing that, let me grab a third putter here and show you. I've got the drawstring pulled tight so the putters will stick up a ways. But if I loosen that, then I can do 3 putters all the way inside. That flap on top is just a little bit weird. You're kind of constantly going to be fighting it. It's got a large enough profile that even when tucked like that, the edge of the discs want to grab it. You'd think that putting the top of your putter against it would stop it from grabbing, but then that makes the putters want to sit in a forward arrangement like that. And when you're sitting in a forward arrangement, then the putter pouch is pushed forward and blocks your access to the rest of this storage. So if you do want to use this storage area, you're better putting the bottom of the putters that direction so that the putters will angle that way, but then also the lip of your putter keeps grabbing that lid and pulling the lid up. So you're just going to have that lid's just going to be flopping up and down all over the place. This gives you an idea how much room is in there. You can fit a lot of stuff. Like, there's a disc sitting flat in there to give you an idea of how much room you have. The putter pocket does hang down. You can see the cut is right in the middle of the bag. So even if you get your putters on that angle, you still just have like a pocket of space behind them that you don't have easy access to. You know, there's not an upper access to that compartment from the back of the bag. So if you have stuff get behind the putters, you've kind of lost it. You got to fish for stuff in there a little bit. You've also got the drawstring cord that's in there to kind of get tangled with, other stuff that you might be setting in there. So it's just a little bit of a weird storage space. You definitely can fit a ton of stuff, but you don't have it necessarily organized or visible, and what you have in there may be getting hit by your putters as you put them in. So we've also got 4 storage compartments on the outside of the bag. The upper pockets here I really like. They're just a really nice size. I only have a few things in here: a mask, a little compression sleeve, a bigger mini marker, and a Sharpie are in this side pocket. They have a little elastic on the outside, and it is great for small mini markers, but if you have a larger size mini marker, you're out of luck. You're gonna have to drop it in your putter compartment or in here or something like that. You've got double zippers on both the upper pocket and double zippers on the lower pocket, and that's a really nice touch. Are adding the double zippers pretty much everywhere on this bag. I guess the flap for the putters only has a single zipper, but come on, that's not a zipper that hardly ever gets pulled on most bags. So the back of this upper pocket has 2 pencil slots sewn on, and this is a little bit funky. If you look at the pocket on the other side here, the pocket itself is the same. They're making the pocket first and then putting it on the bag, or cutting the pieces out and sewing them together. But you can see that on this pocket, the pencil slots are deeper. The pencils are buried deeper than they are on this side. Now, the amount of fabric that they're using is actually the same, but on this side, the bottom of the pencil holders is wrapped around the corner and sewn down here, which does you no good. You can't push a pencil around a corner. And this leads to, like in this example, I've got some brand new, some fresh pencils in there, and it has a super sharp tip on there. If I just push that through, the lead of the pencil comes poking right out the bottom of that pocket. So I'm starting to poke holes in the bottom of these pockets by putting sharp pencils in there. The reason that there's a difference between how the pencils sit on this side versus this is the cut on the zippers. When you look at this pocket, you can see that the zipper stops at this height right here, and then we rotate to this side and we see that the zipper pulls lower. So you have an uneven cut on the zippers. It's cut higher on one side than the other. Now you can see that the high cut is on the left, okay, on the left side of this. So when I rotate the bag around, guess what? The high zipper cut is on the left, and the lower zipper cut, still being on the right, now interferes with how high the little pencil spots could be sewn on. That's why this fabric had to be dropped. So they missed an opportunity there to preserve a nicer style without having to worry about poking the lead of your pencil through the pocket, and to better capture the pencil by taking the extra fabric there that they have sewn for that and just keeping it on the left side. That would then give you access to one set of pencil pockets from the front of the bag and then another set from the back. But they just didn't catch that or didn't care. And in the end, it's not that big of a deal. But it shows like a little bit of lack of attention to detail. Somebody commented on one of my videos recently, why the hell do you keep talking about pencil pockets? He didn't say hell, actually. I added that. Why do you keep talking about pencil pockets? It's 2020. Everybody uses UDisc on their phone. And I'm like, okay, that's a fair point. I'm still going to talk about pencil pockets, though. So another thing that's kind of in that same avenue of just like a little bit of, I don't know what to say, not lack of attention to detail in this case, but it's how these backpack straps attach. Now, I will say, first of all, that this bag is comfortable to carry. I really don't have any complaint about the way it feels on my back or the way that it feels on my shoulders. But the way that the straps are attached is just weird. We've been talking about these load lift style of setup here, and really, again, someone commented, educated me on one of the other posts about the purposes of that type of strap, and it's for a bag that is designed to carry weight, a bag that has a full waist belt setup, so that when you get it the correct spot on your waist and tighten that thing down, you then can yank those straps and it pulls the strap in close to your shoulder. So instead of having the weight sit here, it actually starts to pull on the front of your shoulder instead. That's the purpose of that, the original purpose of that design, that type of strap setup. Now, we do see it on Pound bags, and the reason that Pound does that is because their straps are actually attached with buttons to the back of the bag. They're not designed to be load bearing. So the buttons are just to hold the strap there. And then you need to pull this tight so that that is where the pressure is put. And that is also the reason that they've added the straps in this case. because the strap setup, as you can see, comes down and contains this part of the cushion, there is no like heavy duty stitching across the top of this to secure it to the bag. So if you don't tighten these down or you let them slip over time or whatever, then when you're putting weight on the straps, it's actually pulling on a set of stitching here. And on this side, I can show you that the stitching is already starting to pull out. So they have that stitch set right here. And if I pull this down, there you can see the top thread. You can see that top thread already pulling out. It's not designed to have weight put on that. So you have to keep these things, you have to keep those pulled so that the weight actually gets put into this heavy duty stitching that they've done on top of the bag instead. That's not the only thing that's a little bit funky about this. I feel like that when they realized that this stitching was an issue, they then decided to add these straps. And then when they added these straps and pulled them tight, then they realized that it was like collapsing the backpack strap to the bag, which is maybe a little bit ugly, maybe makes it a little harder to stick your shoulder through there. So then they took another measure, and that was to put in a hard piece of plastic. It starts inside this strap down at about this height, and then there's a strip of plastic that comes up. You can feel it on the top of the strap, and it ends right there. So this whole piece is slightly stiffened, but then still, like the way that it's all set up, when you start to pull these, it ends up bending that piece of plastic, and they get kinked up a little bit funny. Like this one has a bow going this direction, and this one just has a crease further in. So you have straps sitting on funky angles, and they don't want to sit the same. It's like a chain reaction, right? They committed to having these little pads here that are the bottom parts of the strap, and that created an issue with the stitching not holding. So they added this piece, and then this piece, they didn't like how the straps then set against the back of the bag, so they added another piece of plastic. It's like, how many things are you going to keep adding to the bag instead of just like deciding that your first decision might not have been the best and that you should change the overall shape, you know? You can have little pads here and then just attach those straps like everybody else does. It's just a little bit of a funky thing. Again, that's not a comfort issue. That's just me, like, you know, nitpicking and looking at the design decisions. I guess the biggest negative there is weight, just adding more things to the bag. You know, they do build up. They do build up over time. It's a relatively skimpy padding here. There's not very much, and it's not particularly stiff, but that's made up in part by the overall shape and design of the straps. Like, again, it really does feel comfortable on my back. Besides the two high pads, they have one low pad that they've put on just below that back disc opening. And I really do feel that a lot. It is noticeable. It's the contact point of the highest pressure, but I find it pretty comfortable. Like, I really don't have complaints about how it feels on my back again. The sternum strap that they've put on here, they've gone with the sliding style of attachment, which I really like. I talked about that recently. I think it was on the Prodigy BP1V3. That's my favorite, to have like a quick, easy adjustment on the height of the sternum strap. When I first attached the sternum strap, as soon as I pulled on it, the webbing just ran straight backwards, right back through it. And I had to like pull it a couple times, and it just kept sliding. And after looking at it closely, I realized that this buckle was installed improperly. They had it rotated 180 degrees. You can see that the webbing pokes through on the top, and that's because that crossbar is offset. That little bar that the webbing's going around is not in the center, it's lifted towards the top, and that gives a more exaggerated kink in that webbing. And if that's flipped the other way, then the webbing is just running like straight through it. So I haven't told Brandon that yet, but Brandon and I took that off and rotated it so that it was installed properly. It's a pain. It's a little bit of a pain to get that webbing through there. It's probably not a widespread issue. I've looked at a couple other pictures of this bag and zoomed in on that piece, and in the pictures, all the pictures I've seen, that was installed correctly. It's a little bit weird on the other side. They've got the common like little sewn in elastic, so it's kind of got some bungee-ness to it, but it's super long. That's usually attached pretty close. So even if you cinch this down to the maximum, the straps still pull really far apart. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Usually if you cinch them down as far as it'll go, you're going to have straps that really do pull pretty close together, but that's just not the case here. So a little bit of funkiness on the sternum strap. Another thing that I've had happen to me with these straps, and I couldn't figure out what it was at first. I'd set the bag down and do a throw or two, and then I've had people looking at the bag because it's super interesting. So I keep like looking over and somebody's poking around with it, and I pick it up, and my strap, the whole strap, has been pulled super tight, and I'm like, why do people keep messing with my strap? So I adjust it. It happened 2 or 3 times in the same round before I realized that when I was going to pick up the bag, I was stepping on that strap, and then when I picked the bag up, it was pulling it down tight. Like, I don't know what the chances of that are. I don't think I've ever had that happen to me with any other bag before, but something about the way that the straps hang when I set this one down, I just kept stepping on it. So I've actually ordered some strap keepers, just little C-clips on here, and then they have a little wing to like pinch down and hold that strap in place. Just a little extra quality of life thing that even if I hadn't been stepping on these, I probably would do that with this bag anyways, just because I don't love having those straps hang out there. This is relatively thin webbing. You can see that it is fairly happy to thread itself back through there without having to go like an aggressive angle on it or anything. And it kind of wants to pull itself all the way through that buckle even. So it's like a little bit weirdness on that, on the webbing there. They give you a bunch of attachment points on this strap. You have a couple pieces sewn across this way. You can thread these. That's where these usually live, so that they're kind of out of your way. And then you've got another one here, which is reminiscent of like where you would clip the nozzle on a water bladder. You've got the D-ring in there as well, and then these others are sewn Molly style, so you can hang stuff through them if you wanted. Where those intersect on top of the bag with the grab handle and come down this way, they're also sewn through. So again, I've had people talking about D-rings, wanting D-rings, and that's just not something that I really pay attention to on a bag. I don't hang anything from the outside of them. I hate stuff jangling all over my bags. But if you want to, you've got spots you can hook a little carabiner, and there's 2 there, and then also two on this side. So you got plenty of room, plenty of spots to hang all your noisemakers if you wish. The haul loop is awesome on this bag. I really like its location. It does stand up pretty tall. It softer webbing on the side, so it'll kind of lean one way or the other, but for the most part it's super easy to grab. Having that makes me wonder why they're using backpack straps that are connected. Like, couldn't we just get rid of all of that? Like, if you're already going with kind of a unique design on how you attach these, why is this here? Like, these are probably made for this bag. I've not seen them on any other, so I'm assuming it is, custom designed straps for this bag. Why is this here? It kind of aids in like how weird the straps sit and just tempts people to pick up by that, which again is going to deliver pressure straight to that stitching that we've already talked about, starting to pull and being troublesome. I don't know why this is here, but the main pulse haul loop is in a great spot, and the bag doesn't pivot like crazy when you pick it up from there. It's not like way off center and going to tip the bag forward. So They delivered well on that. The other side pocket here, I have packed full of stuff. Towel, some bags, all my little, bug spray, sunblock, that sort of thing. I think this one I have empty. Oh, I have my my water bowl in there. These pockets frustrate me a little bit. Like, for the purpose that am using it on the other side with items that I don't pull out very often, it's just fine. But they're marketing it as a spot to store discs, and they've cut it with that shape, right? So I think in the pictures online they show 5 drivers in these side pockets, which is tight. What bugs me about that is just the zipper on it. Like, I'm never gonna carry 5 drivers in there. I can tell you that right now. But if I want to get it under the zipper to actually get it in the pocket all of the way, then in order to get them out, or if I want so I can zip it closed, for example, for one, that overlaps with this pocket on top, and I'm just like, why can't I have some clearance there? Why did those get put that close? How come the zipper's in the middle and not pulled further out? I don't want to be dragging my hands over zippers and other material to try to get in this pocket. It reminds me of the old style luxury E3 bags by Lat 64, where they had kind of a high pocket like these, and you just had to pry that zipper apart, and when you jam, you just had teeth grating your hand. And that's kind of how I feel about these side pockets as well. They're unique. It's cool that they've shaped them the same as a disc, but they're just not that fun to use. Ergonomic is a word that they use for this bag, and while part of ergonomic is comfort, and I think they've nailed that with how it sits on your back, the other part of the word ergonomic is in ease of use. And this is not all these pockets are fun to interact with having the zippers and kind of weirdness of overlapping the pocket on top of here, and then having to fight stuff a little bit to access everything in that upper storage. So there's just some funk going on with this design. I'm going to show you a little bit about the overall construction of this bag. When we get to the bottom, you can see that they are using a more rubberized material, and that covers the main bottom of the bag, the bottom of our lower storage pockets, and the beverage holders. That's one of 3 main fabrics used. The other is this heavier material that we have on the outside. And then the third material uses the real lightweight stuff on the inside. I'm going to empty this. I can show you how many discs I've got in there, I guess. So in the main compartment currently, I've got 4 putters, 5 mids, and then 8 drivers. And that's getting close to full. I definitely could squeeze one more in there. And then, of course, a chunk of these discs I have in here are big ones. I'm not just, it's not just full of drivers. If I was going drivers only, I could fit a whole lot more. So early on, I mentioned about the hard panels that they have inside this bag. It's really unique how many of them they've used. There's 2 things that aid in the main shape of this bag. One is all the hard panels, and the second is a bar frame. So there is a loop of metal that runs this way, and then another one that sits in the back, and it is a little black wire that's got these little Velcro keepers right here that are pinching that wire and holding it in place. So that gives it a lot of firmness on the height of the bag. like almost to the point where you're like, hey, could this turn into like a seat bag? Could I just sit on top of it? But it does, you know, it is going to start to collapse. It isn't that stuff isn't that thick. They have a hard panel on the bottom. You can see that lighter color fabric on the back. That's like a little bit of a pocket. So it's collapsed by the pocket here and then held by another pocket across the front. You know, just a relatively thin piece of plastic. And this is what's used in a bunch of places inside the bag. They also have one of those on each side. So we have a Velcro belt here. And once that's opened, I can also pull out that side panel. There you go. So you can see it's got some shape to it. It is just flat on one side and the other has that curve. Part of this curve has to do with the fact that the front of the bag closes in here because of that whole shape, and that's what helps hide those discs a little bit. Those are to be expected, right? A hard bottom and then 2 hard side panels. They have added a hard panel at the back as well. Of course, that doesn't exist down here where we've got our flap to get in, but just above that, you can start to see that kind of this imprint line here. From there moving up, there's another one of those hard panels installed. And of course, there's the 2 hard panels, plastic pieces that are inside the straps. They've got one more that they've put in right here, and it helps this putter pocket stay lifted, the front edge of it. There's a strap that runs across there. You can see this little spot right here. I'm going to push on the other side of it. Yep, and there it is. It starts poking out. So there's another piece of plastic that they've got in there. If you take that out, then this will kind of start to collapse here and gives you actually a little bit extra room to add discs in if you wanted. You really could live without a couple of those panels. You don't need the bottom one in. You could even remove the sides. You know, the bag is going to start to get a little softer. It's not going to hold together quite as well, but you definitely could reduce some weight by pulling some of those pieces out. I want to show you kind of how they've set up this top pocket, the divider here. It is a bunch of Velcro with exception of where it attaches to the back. That is actually sewn on back here. And in this far corner, we got a stitch that's starting to pull. So the more weight that you have on here, on 3 sides, it's just pulling on Velcro, but on that back side, it's actually pulling on stitching. I noticed that on the innova.net site where they've got this bag with the Discmania logo on it, they talk about a collapsible divider. I have no idea if what they're talking about is this piece. Like, I can't imagine actually wanting to take this apart and run without this shelf here, but maybe that is what they're talking about. So with those pieces out of the way, this does then collapse, and it has a hard piece of plastic inside of there as well. So, you know, just kind of want to give you guys an idea of how that pocket's actually put together. That does mean that in these corners on the back, there is room for stuff to fall through. Like if you threw a handful of change in there, for example, some of that is gonna probably end up in your discs. So like small little valuable things, jewelry or something like that, no way. That's not the right spot to throw them, or you might lose some of it. I think the last thing on this bag to mention is that they have 2 different spots that they market for umbrella or stool storage, and that's this little cut right here. Now, on this side of the bag, I still have not removed that stiffener panel. I left it in there. And I've got this is an oversized click gear umbrella. It's a really nice umbrella. Definitely on the bigger side of things though, so it is a little bit harder to get in there. That pocket that I'm sliding the umbrella in is on the outside of that stiffener panel. So when I'm sliding this in, it doesn't push inside on these walls or push against the discs so much. That stiffener panel is pushing the bulge of the umbrella this direction. So it's interfering more with the room that I have in these two pockets. At the very bottom of the bag, they have another little spot here where you can see the tip of the umbrella just pushed out. It looks like I caught some fabric and maybe tore something a little bit there, but that's designed as a drain hole, and it is on both sides. I don't know, like they say that that's for a stool as well. But it really doesn't. It really doesn't hold a stool. I'm not sure what they're envisioning there. Like, you're not gonna fit multiple feet of the stool in there. There's no way. I'll go back to the same side so I have the stiff panel again. The best you're gonna get is 1 foot partly in there, and then just leave the stool hanging, which is just kind of funky. I mean, you could make it work, but it's definitely not thought out. Not all the way for carrying a stool. Overall, I think the aesthetics of this bag is great. It is super nice looking setup, but it does have some funk to its storage for sure. So you gotta be prepared. I don't think anybody is probably gonna not be able to fit the stuff in it that they want to carry, or not be able to find a way to organize it. But I think for the price, it's pretty solid. I'm not sure that I'll ever buy one myself. Probably not. Like I can't see this. Can't see it making a home in my lineup between. I mean, it's not really fair to talk about pound because of the price difference, but certainly I would take an Octothorpe or Octohall over this. I think I would take a Grip BX. Even with the reduced capacity compared to this, I just prefer the full side pockets of the BX. The bigger items that can fit in there and the way that I can stack stuff, I'm just more psyched about that. I think between like a Grip BX, a Grip AX, or the Fossa Skinny 2 that I reviewed, I'm just not sure there's a home for this bag. But you guys know who you are. If this bag really does appeal to you, especially aesthetically, if you like the way it looks, if you want to be able to access the discs from, through the straps, then I think that the durability on this bag is going to be great as long as you're careful about those backpack straps. I don't know for sure if the Discmania branded version is going to be available for sale in the US, if you're going to have to try to jump through some hoops again to get it here. But I think we're probably going to see more of these. Bags out there, especially if Discmania is bringing them to the U.S. So, if you have answers for any of the questions that I couldn't figure out on this bag, please post them in the comments. I'm always in there, so if you have questions on other things that I didn't mention, drop them in there. Recommendations for other bags you'd like to see me review, post a comment. I'll definitely get in there and reply to you. Thanks for watching.